Hello, friends. Thank you very much. You gave us overwhelming response to my program, and I really thank you from the core of my heart. And we also got some questions from our viewers about IELTS. I will talk to you about it in that segment. Right now, we are back with Ravi. And Ravi, we left at the point that you did masters in English and then PhD, and how you came up and helped your family after getting that job, and before that you topped in commerce, and all that I want to remind my viewers. Now, what I want to talk about, which I initiated in the last episode, I have seen that you have two personalities. One is which is visible to the people, which is visible to the outside world, and one is which is invisible. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're right. The visible aspect of my personality is the personality which comes into play in this world, and the invisible part of that of my personality is that part of my personality which does not have to come directly into the play of this world.
So what is that? What is that invisible part? Of course, visible part, we have seen that you are a director of a prestigious college in Delhi, GIMS, and you have done so well. So many students, every alternate year or even number of years, your students have been topping in the university, getting gold medal. So what is that? The other one.
That other personality is the core personality. And the core personality is always at the center, it is not at the surface. So, if you have to get to that, you have to have the patience and the desire to listen to that and to know about that. And because for the most part, people do not have that patience, do not have that inclination to know about that part of the personality. That's why any person who has that kind of a preoccupation will never allow that part of his personality to come to the forefront if he is a genuine student of that area of life.
We are very eager to know that.
Because you're prompting me to talk about it. So I believe maybe, you see, I'm reminded at this time of the Buddha, that when the Buddha had had his realization, he had this feeling that he should go for Mahanirvana after that.
Mm-hmm.
But Brahmaji, it is said, came and said to him, no, that is not the purpose, that is not the goal for which you did all this, you went through all this. But the Buddha said that if I were to talk about it to the world, there will be some who will not understand, and there will be some who will misunderstand. So what's the fun of my talking about it to the world? Then Brahmaji said to him, but there are some who may be on the threshold, who are looking for guidance, just as you were. If you share your wisdom with them, it would help them queer their path. So keeping that in mind, I believe there will be some people who will be interested in this. And before I talk about it, I would like to say that what all I have done in my life, in the visible part of my life, it has only been a preparation for that.
Okay.
What the world considers to be the alpha and omega of their lives, that is for me and for people of my kind only a preparation.
At what time did you realize this?
So before I come to that, let me now spell it out.
Okay.
Because you were asking me to spell it out.
Right.
That part of my personality is the spiritual part of my personality. That And when I say spiritual part of my personality, I think it's necessary here for me to distinguish between spirituality and religion. So
That's very important question.
very
We
important.
generally confuse the spirituality with religion.
Religion. Most people mistake one for the other. Spirituality transcends religion. It is not bound by religion. There's a beautiful line in Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Manne mago na chale panth, manne dharm seti sarbandh.
Wow. You have a good knowledge of Gurbani also.
When you are a spiritualist and you are spiritually driven, you read all the texts. You are not bound by, as I said, as I quoted from Guru Granth Sahib Ji, you are not bound, you are not by any religious path. You transcend religious boundaries. And what do I mean by spiritual then? By spiritual or spirituality, what I mean is the adventure of consciousness. It is an adventure of consciousness. It is an adventure of consciousness is very exciting, and it is far more exciting than is the journey of a scientist who is onto something, feels there is something, goes about experimenting, keeps experimenting, and comes up with something, and then exclaims like Archimedes, Eureka! I found it. So does the spiritually driven person. I also was bitten by this bug. And I'll not go much back in time about how these characteristics were visible in my personality. That would be a subject that we could discuss some other day. But I'll come to this part of the thing, that as to how I got onto this bandwagon. Well, what happened in my life was not different from what happened in the life of the Buddha. Just as the Buddha came across certain things, certain incidents in his life which turned the course of his life, similarly in my case, initially I just wanted to be a writer. I wanted to make it big in the world of writing. But then one day while I was teaching my friends in the university hostel, suddenly one boy walks in and he falls flat like a log of wood.
Oh.
He loses all consciousness and he is as good as a dead man. Mm-hmm. I'd never seen something of this kind. I was a very protected child. So this hit me in the gut. And then around the same time, in my neighborhood, there was a family who had only one son. And this son, who was just aged 16 years, passed away.
Oh my God.
He was in my immediate neighborhood. So when I got to know this and I saw the condition his parents were in, it again hit me. It took the rug of that belief in the permanence of life from under my feet. For 1 year, I was sick.
Oh.
Because I had lost faith in life. I had lost faith in everything, all pursuits, everything, all demolished, complete demolition of everything that I believed in. And because there was an utter confusion in my mind, it affected the physiological functioning of my body.
Did your family know about it?
Yeah.
And how did you come out of this situation?
I went to a number of doctors, but doctors, as you know, they treat the body. They are unable to treat the mind.
Right.
It was only later that one good doctor, some intelligent doctor, he diagnosed. He said, nothing is wrong with your body. You're overthinking. That was his way of approaching the issue. He said, you're overthinking, and because you're overthinking and keeping to yourself That's why you've gone into depression, and it is depression, and that depression is leading to the malfunctioning of your organs, and as a result you're falling sick. So step out, socialize, and you will be okay, and go for a morning walk. And that's this thing I have put in a poem also, a paean to Kal. Kal means time, and usually in India referred to as one who comes and takes away the life of an individual, because time is the greatest devourer. It devours, it eats life. So I wrote this experience in the form of a poem as well. So that was his take, but it also led to something different, because then I began to search for the meaning of life like the Buddha did.
Okay.
So I knocked on different doors, on the various doors of religious doors, on different spiritually minded people's doors. I read Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, Vivekananda, Maharishi Ramanna. I knocked on the door of Ananda Marg also, Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar's. So I went to all these doors, and then because my destiny had already been carved, there was somebody who was guiding from within. He knew which way I was to take, but because till then, I, the ego self, the limited self, did not know, was not one identified with that higher self in me. So I was falling, stumbling, and groping for the path. And at that time, the light came. The light came in two ways. I had a friend who was my classmate also, while doing my master's in English. He had learnt yoga, and he had these booklets of Sri Aurobindo. He showed me a couple of these booklets, and the moment I read Sri Aurobindo, I was not reading a book. This was the kind of experience, this was the kind of feeling I had, that I was not reading a book by someone, I was reading my own writing. I had the feeling, I had the experience that it was not somebody else who had written it, it was me who had written it, as if it was I who had written it. And it was my thought process which was getting echoed on that page in the form of these printed words. So it was, you could say, falling in love with the Guru. So then I asked him for the other books, I got his books, and the more I read, the more I got sucked in. And that's how I found my Guru, Sri Aurobindo.
You have become emotional, and rather you also made me emotional. Here I want to jump to a question. You probably want to tell more, but somehow I am going to jump to a question that we see in our youth, that they go into depression and they commit suicides and end their life. What would you like to say to those people who face such kind of a situation? How to come out of such situations in
What
life?
I would like to tell such youngsters is that life is too precious. It is not yours to take. It is something, it's a gift of God to you. Do not throw it away. Number one. Number two, you think that when you're throwing away your life, you're getting rid of the miseries of life. You're mistaken. You're falling from the frying pan into the fire. And what do I mean by this? What I mean by this is that your body is an insulation. Your body is the boat in which you are riding. The boat has a problem. Do you jump off the boat into the high sea? If you do that, then you're the stupidest person on earth. What you would do is, you will repair the boat. Because it is the boat which is going to take you across to the other, it's going to take you ashore to the other side of the river or the lake or the sea. So when you take your life, you throw your body, you make yourself vulnerable, because life operates at two levels. One, at the level of the material body, which is a form of matter, and the other is at the level of energy. When you give up your body, what you do is you are left defenseless with your energy self. And in that energy self, you are completely vulnerable, susceptible, defenseless. Number one. Number two, the pain, the agony which was psychological. Remember, misery has with it pain, agony. These are psychological experiences. They have nothing material in them. They will go with you. And in the body, they are diluted. Their intensity gets diluted because this is your insulation, like the insulation on the electric wire. But when you give up the body and you are in your energy self, these get multiplied, because in the energy form they assume a much larger proportion, and then they afflict you more. So you are the stupidest person who has taken that kind of a decision, that you have given up less pain for greater pain. So do you want to do that?
This is an important question they have to consider.
Yes, I am speaking it on the basis of the facts. I am proposing it to them on the basis of the facts. What decision would they like to take? Would they like to fight the lesser evil, or they would like to fight the greater evil?
Greater evil. Well, friends, what I have understood and what I would like to tell you is, one thing I always say, that learn from the experiences of others. You save time, you save money, and that helps you in a time when you are in crisis. And what Ravi has told you, these are the pearls of wisdom, and you must not ever think of that. You should always come out from adversity. You will have so many occasions when you are feeling low, but always think of what Ravi is saying.
And I'll give you one incident also, because possibly the listener or the viewer of the program may not understand. He may think that what I'm referring to are just abstractions. I'm telling you on the basis of my own experience. I was meditating, it so happened once, and my young son, because he was just 5 years old, he started poking his finger into my eyes which were closed. He was a kid. He was playing around. He was fooling around with me. And I had my eyes closed, and when he poked his fingers into my eyes, I happened to get angry, as anyone would. That's a natural response. Suddenly I had the good sense to realize that what was I doing? I hope you get my point. The point is that I realized that the anger which was taking birth in me could be lethal for the child. So what did I do? I immediately controlled my anger. And the moment I controlled my anger and I did not let it out, vent it out on him, I was in meditation. The anger in me disengaged from me and got objectified. The anger separated itself from me and assumed a physical form. And because I had stopped it, it fell upon me like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And I could feel the falling on my body. But because I was in the meditative, surcharged state of mind, I could bear that. I realized that day that anger is not just an abstraction. Anger has its own potency, which is as potent as any physical thing. had I allowed this anger to be released on my son, it would have impaired his mind. So from then on, then I stopped meditating in the open.
Okay.
So I used to then after that close the door, latch it and then meditate in my room.
Thank you, friends. And I request you once again to please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon and like the show. Thank you very much.